Namaste, greetings and blessings, and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts. This is our Sunday message, and I am Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson, the founder and spiritual director of this center. And I invite you to watch not only this Sunday message, but any of our archived messages. I invite you to join any classes or events that we have going on. I invite you to reach out and email if you have any questions. Questions about this community, questions about me, questions about what we do, or questions about this science of mind and spirit, liberation theology that we practice and teach. And if by chance you find yourself seeking beloved community with other like-minded beings, even if you already belong, are a member of another community, church, or center, you are more than free to have multiple affiliations wherever you are fed and find community. You are invited. And lastly, feel free to click like, subscribe, and share this or any other message or announcements with others in your circle. And with that, much appreciation, love, and blessings. Enjoy the message. Namaste and greetings. Breathe. There's so much going on in the world. And so today we are talking about inner illumination. Linguistic convenience, but inner illumination. Diwali, also known as the Festival of Lights, or Diwali, known as the Festival of Lights, is a Hindu tradition that symbolizes the spiritual victory of light, goodness, knowledge over darkness, evil, and ignorance. And so, as we share in this celebration with our Hindu siblings, we are invited to identify where in our spiritual practices, where on our mystical path, and within our own lives, where are the places, what are the places and ways that we can celebrate these sacred qualities of light, goodness, knowledge? Breathe. These sacred qualities of enlightenment, compassion, joy. Because if we're going to truly celebrate and honor this thing called illumination as we glow up, then it's got to be all of it. It doesn't serve any of us to have all this great knowledge but no joy. To have all of our physical needs be met but to feel no gratitude. So it's got to be all of it, all encompassing. So officially, we celebrate, or our Hindu siblings celebrate on October 20th this year. And once again, it is a celebration that focuses on, that represents and symbolizes this idea of victory. Pause. Because victory almost sounds like there's a battle. That's why I said linguistic convenience earlier. So rather than victory, it symbolizes the energy of Dharma rather than, not over, not victory, but Dharma over adharma. Light over darkness. Light rather than darkness, quote unquote. Light balanced with darkness. Good rather than evil. There is no evil, not within science of mind. So understanding consciousness that creates what we would refer to as evil. And the idea of knowledge over ignorance. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this idea of ignorance and what it represents in a more encompassing way. Because oftentimes we talk about ignorance and it's a real basic explanation or way of expressing the idea. But once again, we are reminded enlightenment is not about becoming divine. Rather, it is about becoming more fully human. And in so doing, we put an end to ignorance. Ignorance, a lack of comprehension, a lack of experience, innocence, to be unenlightened, foolishness, and stupidity. All of these fall under the umbrella definition of ignorance. So when we look at Back up. Becoming more fully human, it is the end of ignorance. Are we saying that it is the end of innocence? No. Are we saying that it is the end of lack of experience, that everyone's automatically a master of? No. Because if I've never played the piano before and I go to take a piano class, in that moment, I am ignorant of how to play. I have a sense of innocence in my lack of, right? So it's finding that balance in terms of, or application in terms of, when I'm referring to the end of ignorance, what am I talking about? And even if it's quote unquote stupidity or foolishness, even that, what exactly, clarity of communication, what exactly am I referring to? One of my favorite mantras that I learned many, many, many years ago, and was overjoyed when I heard it as a choral piece during The Matrix, blew my mind. It's probably one of the reasons why I love The Matrix so much, but blew my mind. I won't, because I don't want to have to, the interpreters, I don't want to mess them up. So the translation of, excuse me, from the non-being to the true being, moving from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. Or as the other translation says, lead us from the falsehood. Lead us from the falsehood to the truth. Lead us from the darkness to the light. Lead us from that which is the death to that which is immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. What does it look like in our lives? Because once again, for linguistic purposes, we understand that the darkness in and of itself is not bad or to be vilified. But in this context, what are we talking about? Clearly, we are not talking about lead us from the darkness of the basement to the light on the front porch. We're not talking about that kind of darkness and light. So what are we talking about? What if this is a sign directing the way as you drive down the highway? Where is the sign directing you to go? Next exit, rest stop. Where is that sign? Oh, it's directing me to go to the rest stop if I need the rest stop. Next sign or next exit, gas, lodging. It's directing me to gas and lodging. This is a sign pointing the way. What is it pointing to? Light in your mind is truth. Light in your heart is knowledge. Light in your soul is wisdom. Light in your life is God. Breathe. Now, one of the things, if you know me, I love the whole archetype of Star Wars, many other films, but Star Wars. And within here, there are three general designations of force users, per se. If we think of the Jedi as the light users, Sith would be the dark users. One uses the light side of the force, the other uses the dark side of the force. And yet in the middle, there is the gray Jedi. It balances them both. So once again, the gray Jedi understands that too much light blinds you, just as too much darkness you can't see within. So by balancing them, there is greater power. Now I invite you to screen capture or whatnot and come back and revisit it and look at it, because there's going to be something a little bit later regarding it. But for now, Dr. Holmes says, or Dr. Holmes makes it clear, that the spirit is the inner light that dwells within all of us. You probably already know where I'm going to end up going, but our inner illumination comes from the source of the divine itself. We can all talk to God and access that light within. Our individual glow up is inspired, designed, and guided by the truth that resides in us all. There is no glow up without the original glow of the presence of the divine. So Dr. Holmes makes it clear that the inner light that dwells within all of us is from source. It is the divine itself. Okay? Yes, I knew you guessed it, remix. So, what if you made it clear to yourself that the inner light that dwells within all of us that Dr. Holmes speaks of is your realization that spirit is you and you are it? It is that realization that brings illumination, enlightening us. Knowing that all that we are, the totality, both comes from and is the source, the divine itself. And so, rather than asking, can we talk to God? Ask, when are we aware that talking to other people is talking to God? Ask, am I aware of the fact that every time I communicate, it is as God? All that we are is that presence, which means that inner light that dwells within isn't simply within. It is within and without, expressing outwardly. It is around, above, below. It is all that we are. Do we have that realization? Because when we do, then it is far easier to see the light, find the light, embrace the light, be the light. Be the light. In what way are you invited to be the light? What is your practice to embrace the light? And let's talk about this concept of what light symbolizes. Various concepts such as truth, wisdom, enlightenment, life, divinity, hope, and goodness across all various diverse cultures and religions. Light symbolizes these and many more things. It represents the absence of darkness, the removal of ignorance, sin, and chaos, while embodying divine presence, spiritual knowledge, and traversing a path to higher consciousness. Light also signifies purification, spiritual awakening, as individuals, quote unquote, see the light, which gives them the ability or gives them access to understanding hidden truths and to be able to find guidance. So when you are being the light, it means you are being truth. You are being wisdom. You are being divinity and hope, etc. It is what you are being, not simply things we do, not simply adjectives that describe us, but it is the very essence of our being. Breathe. So what do you see on your screen at the present moment? Okay. Anyone who's taken martial arts, actually a lot of people who haven't taken martial arts understand the concept of the white belt. In martial arts, the white belt symbolizes a beginning. It is a blank slate. It represents purity and innocence. For the new student who is starting from scratch to build the foundation of knowledge, and as a result of that, there is moral value and character that is defined and developed for them. The white belt signifies or represents an empty mind that is ready to learn. There is no preconception or judgment. I am simply ready. Now, remember, ignorance. Remember, these are the things it represents. So to a certain degree, we could very easily say that the white belt represents ignorance because it represents a lack of knowledge, innocence. It represents starting from scratch, lack of experience. So ignorance in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's a matter, layers, layers, layers. In what term are we referring to ignorance? Let's go back in our Wayback Machine for a moment. Several weeks back, there was a great demonstration of ignorance when a certain individual was assassinated, and you would see a vast sea of people turning him into a martyr, rallying around the cause, doing a variety of things, elevating him to the point of being the next Jesus, kind of. That too is ignorance. When an individual who is not a scientist or doctor claims that Tylenol causes autism, when autism was discovered or first diagnosed, well before Tylenol was even invented. Ignorance. Some are ignorant, they are innocent, they are open and ready to learn, and some are willfully ignorant. I don't want to know the truth. You can't handle the. Oh, I had a Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson moment for it. Whew. So it serves us very well to develop a level of clarity to identify. As my brother from another mother, Travis, shared with me a couple of weeks ago as well, in order to avoid being willfully ignorant or remaining ignorant when I could choose knowledge, let me choose not to jump to confusion. Note I didn't say jump to conclusion. No. Let us not jump to confusion. Because when we do that, we are demonstrating a level of ignorance. As Lao Tzu said, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Whatever it is we are learning, whatever it is we are writing on that blank slate, whatever it is we are putting into that empty cup, it starts with the first drop, the first block, the first note. It starts with a first something. Then, like the series of dominoes, the progression continues. And then mastery is the result if we have invested in it in such a way that mastery is the result. But the journey of 1,000 miles isn't fold your arms, blink, twinkle your nose, and kapow, I'm there. Begins with a single step. So in terms of being the light, embodying it, embracing it, etc., seeing it and finding it, and all these things, what is your first step to move first into being a white belt, and then to progress through to being what we would refer to as a black belt? What is that for you? How do you move through studying and practicing so that you develop a degree and level of mastery of self, mastery of spirit, mastery of manifestation? Dr. Holmes says, there is a power and a presence in the universe which responds to us so completely and so perfectly that we shall be amazed. We shall be amazed when we realize how completely and how perfectly. But it can only operate in that manner for us by doing so through us. Pause for a second. I'm gonna use the Sharpie as an example. The Sharpie has the ability to write, not of its own volition. It must be utilized. And yet the Sharpie in and of itself has the potential to be used to draw, to paint, well, not paint, but draw, to write, etc., to create. But it can only do so based upon how I use it to do so. Do I use it to sign my name, my new upcoming book? Doing signature autographs for folks. New book, your EKG, your equivalent knowingness of God. I'm signing books. Or am I using it to draw an eye? So this thing, this power and presence, which operates completely and so perfectly that we are amazed when we realize and see this happening, and yet it is not going to force its way through us and be like, I'm here and I'm ready to do stuff. It's there. But are we utilizing it? Are we allowing that creativity to move through us? In the same way that I could say, I have a great idea for a new book. Michael said it would be cool to have a book about what it means to be a human being. Yeah, I think that would be a good book. I got several ideas of what I'd even write about. But if I never sit down and start, whether it's writing longhand or typing or dictating, chapter 1, if I never do, then it cannot move through me and show up so completely and so perfectly in a way that I am amazed. So we go on. Our communication with God must of necessity be and always remain an inner light. We communicate with the indwelling God. We gonna remix this, remix it, remix it. Are you ready? Then let's remix. There is a power and a presence expressing itself as the universe, which includes us. And that is why it responds to us so completely. And the more we practice active use of this spiritual muscle, the more perfectly and skillfully will be both the use and the response. But like a piano or a recipe, it can only operate in that form for us by going so through us and as us. Our communication as God must of necessity be and always remain as truth and principle, because we communicate as the all-dwelling God. Breathe. The piano, just generally, I'm not talking about the thing you flick the switch and it plays by itself, because even that was programmed to do so. It needed a person to program it to play whatever it's playing. It is simply a piece of furniture, in essence. It is something great to look at until someone sits down, until someone strikes a key that coordinates a certain vibration. That vibration is a sound. That sound we call a note. Each of these needs that which came before it, which came before it, which came before it. I choose, sit down, hands up, and I play. As a result of that, the keys move. They strike the cord, the wire, it vibrates. That vibration is a sound. That sound is a note. That note reaches an ear. The brain receives that signal and identifies that as music. And if it is aware, it identifies that music as, oh, that's the theme to Star Wars. Are we availing ourselves to the divine in the same way? Are we sitting down, getting ready, and playing the keys of the divine in order to express the divine voice of the universe itself into creation? Do we enter into the grand kitchen of life, knowing that each instrument, each appliance, each tool serves a purpose, so that when I look at the recipe book and open it, I see a variety of ingredients and a variety of preheat this and stir this in and fold this and sift that, a cup of this and a tablespoon of that. Taking it in. I read the recipe book the same way I read a music book. I follow the notes. I follow the instructions. I embody them. First, I seek, I find, I embody, then I am. I am cooking. I am baking. I am embodying it. I am doing it. There is only the activity of, and as a result, marzipan cake comes out of the oven. But it doesn't stop there, because if I've made this for myself and Tracy, we then sit down and eat it. If I've made it for the local Moms Demand Action group, I deliver it for them to then eat it. But it doesn't stop there, because it's not simply, it's tasted and savored and enjoyed and digested, and a chemical reaction happens within the body and it moves through and it further digests, and that which is no longer useful, or once the nutrients have been removed, that which is the waste is then eliminated. There's an ongoing process of this thing called life. How are we engaging in the process? Now, if we're going to talk about this idea of glowing up and inner illumination, and we're talking about light and love and joy, then we also have to talk about when there is less love and less light versus more love and more light. And it doesn't stop there. What happens when it becomes great love and great light? So, what are we talking about? Less love, less truth. More love, more life. Great love, great hope. Less love, less spiritual awakening. Excuse me. More love, more divinity. Great love, great life. See, there are a variety of ways that we can interpret what this is actually inviting us into. So it's not simply words on a page, but it's words that point a direction for us to go in order to become what we already are, but are not practicing it to that degree or are not aware to that degree. Love is the only candle whose flame is eternally lit. Eternally lit. That flame called love cannot be extinguished. How are we applying it? How are we being the light of the world, being the light in the world that gives others the opportunity to follow, to discover in the same way that Dorothy, follow, 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 follow the yellow brick road. You had the power all along. Click your heels 3 times. And how are we being to give others the opportunity to recognize, to search for the light, to find the light, to embody the light, to be the light of their own being? The light within us is enough to brighten the world around us. Many times we act like, because it's what we believe, we act like we are not enough. I'm not a good enough father, a good enough son, a good enough minister, a good enough brother, a good enough friend, a good enough artist. And so we strive, yet the light of our being is enough to brighten the entire world around us. How are we letting that light shine? Especially considering the light at the end of the tunnel is inconsequential when you are living, moving, and having your beingness with your own light being turned on and turned up. Right? We talk about don't give up, don't give up, don't give up the fight, don't give up hope. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah, there's light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm in the middle of the tunnel right now. I don't even see the light yet. Or I see it as a faint speck, looks like a star in the sky. But where I am right now, I'm in the dark. But what happens when I recognize my divine inner light? Then it shines wherever I am, because it is what I am. Then the light at the end of the tunnel becomes inconsequential, because the light right here is enough to light, to illuminate the world around me. This is why Yeshua said, be a light for all to see, and that you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden. When you shine your light, nothing can hide it or dim it. Breathe. In the science of mind, we learn that persistent, constructive thought is the greatest power known and is the most effective. If the visible effect in our lives is not what it should be, it is not what we desire it to be. For example, if we are unhappy, if we are sick, if we are hungry or poverty stricken, we know the remedy. The truth is always the remedy. And the truth is that the law of liberty is the only real law. When we reverse the process of thought, then the effect, the condition, the experience will also be reversed. Remix. Are you ready? In the Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0, we learn that persistent, life-affirming mental equivalents are the greatest power known and the most effective. If the experienced effect in our lives is not what it should be, what we want it to be, for example, if we are chronically unhappy, sick, afraid, angry, or stuck in the morass of poverty, we know there is a remedy. The truth is always the remedy. And the truth is that the law of liberty is the only real law. When we correct the process of creation via our mental equivalents, individually and collectively, the effect will also be altered accordingly. As within, so without. As above, so below. Breathe. What do you see happening on your screen right now? What is this? What is this representing? Oh, winter time, it's snowing now. I do not like the gray snow. I like the snow when it's fresh and white. Tracy likes it when it's out of sight. So yes, we understand. But did you know that salt, it doesn't melt the ice? If the water is mixed with salt, the freezing temperature of the solution is lower than 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Salt impedes the ability of the water molecules to form solid ice crystals. The degree of freezing point depression depends on how salty the solution is. So the salt doesn't actually melt the ice. It impedes the ability of water molecules to form solid ice crystals. And yet, salt can melt ice in a particular instance. Do you know what that instance is? This. So what do you see? Another form of ice. Whether it's fascism of Hitler and that era or the fascism of today, nonetheless, there are lessons to be learned regarding tyranny. And for this moment, our lesson comes from another brother from another mother, Reverend Ogun Holder, who posted several weeks ago. And he mentions, Happy Sunday. If the sermon at your church or spiritual community isn't addressing the attempted fascist takeover of American cities, especially if it's your city, it might be time to find a new church. Unless spiritual bypassing is your thing. Also, I see you, Chicago. So in this instance, SALT, which stands for Standing Against Legalized Tyranny, can melt ice. It not only impedes it from being able to do what it does, but it also dissolves it. And let's take it an even step further. So, when we are spiritually aligned and living transformatively, then this thing called tyranny, this thing called fascism, not only is alleviated, it's eliminated. See, we don't simply want the disease or disease to go into remission. We want it gone so it doesn't exist at all anymore. Other than being able to read about it in a medical textbook or read about it in a history textbook or whatever, other than that, it no longer exists. In the same way that a Tyrannosaurus Rex no longer exists. Yes, we can go to the museum and see the bones. We can look in books, and yes, we can see movies called Jurassic Park. I had a brain fart. Jurassic Park. We can see dinosaurs there. I think there's some at Disney or Universal Studios. Yeah, I think it's Universal Studios. They have a Jurassic Park themed something, I think. So, but the actual living, breathing animal is no more. Are we ready to are we ready to encourage fascism to become extinct? The Science of Mind and Spirit 4.0 gives us the means to put the power of our illumination to use in dynamic and life-affirming ways. Ways that give others the opportunity to see and feel the truth, which gives them the freedom to access their illumination as well. Because we glow up, we show up as the body of love, justice, equity, and liberation. We drive out the lies with the truth, hate with understanding, violence with compassion, and ignorance with wisdom. How we live is the gospel we share. Our lives are the sacred texts that we offer the world to read. We have everything that we need to create a world that works for all. The question is, are we ready to gather and make it so? Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration, I will say it first. If it resonates with you, I invite you to repeat it with me the second time. My spiritual practice is lit. Lit meaning life affirming, impactful, and transformative. So I'm gonna do it one more time. Do it with me the time after this time. Time after time. Do it with me the third time. This is number 2. My spiritual practice is life affirming, impactful, and transformative. It's lit. Together. My spiritual practice is life affirming, impactful, and transformative. It is lit. And so it is. Yeah. This week's Thursday night study group questions or your own personal journaling questions. How might I reword the code of the Gray Jedi to sound more like science of mind and spirit? What might be some of the benefits of speaking more directly rather than symbolically regarding both the light and the darkness? If I were asked to compare martial art belt advancement with studying new thought, how would I correlate? How would I describe some of the colors and stages of training? A white belt in karate is equal to what in new thought? A brown belt in karate is equivalent to what in new thought? That kind of thing. Number 4, how do I address, rather than avoid, the various things happening in the world, including what's happening in the un-United States right now? What do I think New Thought could do more effectively to change the current status of the world and of the ills that we are witnessing and feeling and experiencing? And lastly, what does having a lit spiritual practice have to do with such things as ice and salt? Are you ready for the practice this week? This week, you are being asked to have a conversation about a time in your life where you were ignorant in one way or another. What was the ignorance pertaining to? What did you do to shift your perspective and awaken if you have? For example, have a conversation about a time that you lacked experience or knowledge. What did you lack experience or knowledge regarding? What did you do to gain the knowledge, skill, etc.? What did it do for you? That kind of thing. Excellent. And so now we anchor into that energy in that space we refer to as prayer, simply recognizing that which is the divine, the infinite source, the balance of both light and darkness, the up and the down, the right and the left, this infinite thing that expresses as duality, the divine duality, is still the infinite oneness. And it is from this awareness of the oneness that we live, move, and have our beingness, that we embrace and embody who and what we are as the oneness, expressing as the divine duality. And in so doing, we understand and we move in a way that gives us the ability to play the piano, to cook a meal, to bake a cake. We do the same thing with playing, quote unquote, the music and melody of love, to prepare the nutritious meal of hope, to bake the cake and serve it as it represents divine wisdom, the joy and sweetness of life. Whatever it is in terms of how we embody spirit, God, source, and how we practice being it, allows the expression of it to flow from us naturally, in the same way that once the dominoes are set up and you tap that first one, the journey of 1,000 miles, you tap the first one and stand back and observe. We do the same thing with prayer and affirmations, journaling, and all of our spiritual practices. Once we put it into motion, it moves of its own accord. But are we putting it in motion? Breathe. And so knowing that I choose, yes, my answer to that question, yes, I have and am ever putting it into motion with every thought and every word, every action, every emotion. I keep the divine movement of creativity and manifestation of love, joy, peace, and harmony forever in motion. As Newton said, an object in motion will continue to be in motion unless something acts upon it to cause it to stop or slow or change course. But an object set in motion, a prayer set in motion, will continue to pray itself. An affirmation set into motion will continue to affirm itself. God embodied and being in motion continues to be God being and expressing and healing and transforming and evolving as me right now. And now. And now. Forever in motion. So it is with great gratitude that I recognize this and allow it to be precisely what it is. Knowing that it is good, knowing that it is sacred, and knowing that it is holy, I allow this inner illumination to shine forth, knowing that that which I refer to as inner illumination is the grand illumination of all that is, in the same way that a candle flame, the light, the illumination isn't inside the flame, the illumination is the flame. The divine spirit is not inside of me, it is me. And its illumination is my illumination. It is me. And I am grateful to know that this truth applies for everyone watching now live or those who watch the recording later. And so as we close this chapter of the gospel of our lives, we know that the next chapter begins. Pen in hand, expressing, writing, crafting, manifesting, word by word, paragraph by paragraph, page by page, chapter by chapter. That which we are living is the good news, because we know who and what we are. And so it is. Blessings, much joy, much peace, all that good stuff. And as usual, I will see you either sometime during the week or right here next week as we talk about a topic that triggered me in a very different way. So be ready. Love and appreciate you, and I will see you soon.